Moto, Memphis, Moto, Memphis,
Moto, Memphis.
Radio.com.
It's a curse that was put on all of us from way back in slavery times, and I hate to say it. I don't think it's something that's going to ever be broken. Now, are all Black people that way? No, no. But the majority of us are, because of that mentality from slavery, um, and because of the slaves not being able to teaching their children the better way of life because they didn't know it. So it's an ongoing process because the cycle is constantly going on and on and on. So I really don't see it being broken. I would like to be wrong about this. I don't see it.
Well,
I kind of think you are wrong about it, personally. I think that there's a lot of things that are changing that we're not really, everybody's not observing it. But I think that there's so much happening, and we've been programmed. And yeah, we've been deeply programmed. And it goes way, way, way back, you know. And so, but this is going to be kind of a little difficult here, but it's like, how do I go? You know, it's like everything is conscious energy. And I know that might sound kind of far-fetched right now, but follow me through this. Everything is conscious energy. And believe it or not, your thoughts out in the universe is shaping reality. So if you don't believe it's going to change, it ain't going to change. You have to believe it's going to change. And this is proven science that this works. You know, they got this other thing they call, what is it? What do they call it? Where you give two people got the same illness and one person get the pill and the other one get the dummy pill and they both get better. Cuz what do you call that?
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't call the plan.
Placebo.
Placebo. Yeah, that's
placebo.
It.
And
the placebo is
placebo
false.
and non-placebo.
Right.
Well, believe it or not, our thoughts really do shape our reality. And this is what they call it's really not new science. It's rediscovered science. Because they're just starting to realize that there's a lot more to this than what we think. You know, they can read your brain waves, and your brain waves affect the universe electromagnetic field to orchestrate particles, you know. And this is how it works. This is the science behind how this stuff works. So you got to stay positive and believe that this chain of madness can be broken. And then there's this other thing. I don't know if you remember the song by the Fifth Dimensions, The Age of Aquarius.
Yes.
Okay. And what's happening, you know, a lot of people don't believe in zodiacs. But it's true. You will find how so many people of the same sign have some of the same characteristics. And so and then there's all these different, you heard about the Mayan calendars and all these different calendars and all of these things has to do with cycles of cosmic formations. You know, where our planet is in one, say, you know, like, you know, 360 degrees around the sun. Well, in every one of those different degrees is a different frequency. And if you divide those degrees up into 4 sections, each one of those sections is going to have a different frequencies. And these frequencies affects us on the planet. And right now, we're in the age of Aquarius. And in the age of Aquarius, people are going to start finding themselves to become more loving, compassionate, empathy, and humility. It's just that there's a war going on between the age that was and the age that's coming. And the age that was is fighting to stay alive. And those are your deep state people, you know. And believe it or not, all of this stuff, I mean, we study the Bible and Jesus and this, that, and the other, but all of that stuff and all these religions stem from things that came from the Anunnakis. And people don't want to believe this, but if you look at all the archaeological evidence found all over the globe, they all tell a different story from what we're being told about these religions. And where did we really come from? And now they're discovering structures under the pyramids that we are so fascinated with the pyramids, but the structure under the pyramids, you begin to realize the pyramids is nothing but an antenna.
Yeah,
and that's all it is.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, cuz. Thank you very much. Omar Barutis has joined us.
How's everybody?
Great. Hello, Mr. Omar.
How are you doing?
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yes, good. So we basically have been talking about the historical significance of Memphis, Tennessee, as it applies politically and economically at the turn of the 19th century, 19th and 20th century, and why what happened then has an effect on what's going on right now and its continuity. And I've established the fact that Memphis has always been a violent city. It has never been a city of peace. History dictates that and absolutely proves without a doubt, you know, in the mid or in the early 20th century and on, I mean, you can come to Memphis and get killed. You can come in Memphis and lose your life. Okay, and Beale Street, in downtown Beale Street, and many of the black communities were extremely dangerous. And it was like that when I was a teenager. You couldn't go in other communities. I mean, you could lose your life. And I'm sure it was like that all over the United States because it was planned. It was made like that. We become territorial because of the school that you would go to and other things like that. And sometimes girls in this neighborhood and girls in that one and boys in all of that stuff kept us divided, including with religion. We were divided and we principally and basically hated one another based on geography. So Memphis was a part of that. And by Memphis being the largest city in the mid-southern states at that time, you know, we were premier. We were the apex of the South, and we were pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And so now today, what we're looking at is a increase in homicide, but that could be because of population. The population has grown significantly, but with the wrong people. And I would say this, we have to understand and have to conclude that we are not brothers based on skin color. We have to get beyond that too.
Exactly. Right.
We have to become brothers based on heart. And skin color is the worst thing that we can use to determine whether we are even helping ourselves or not. Because we know in Memphis, Tennessee, go ahead, Ms. Grill.
Saying that all skin folks isn't kin folks.
Right. Exactly.
And also, I agree with you as far as fathers not being able to stay in the homes. They're not permitted to stay in the homes because I grew up in Georgia and I grew up in public housing. But in Georgia, the fathers were allowed to remain in the homes. And so as I look back, the people that I grew up with, all of us, we kind of have the same mindsets. We have a positive outlook on life. So I think that the fathers were allowed to remain in the homes. It made a big difference in our lives.
Yes, absolutely. And
I agree.
yeah.
Yes.
See, we have been told that men, I mean, across the board, I mean, black men and black women, we all have been told the black male is insignificant, not only in words, but in actions and
Mm-hmm.
deeds,
Mm-hmm.
on the job, in
That's true.
school, everywhere. Everything points to the black male as being a zero. Songs, look, go back and listen to all those songs that was sang about the black men, negative.
Yeah.
These songs are documents, okay, believe it or not. That's the lyrics of somebody, and it documents culture. Okay, so we've heard over and over and over and over again all of our lives how bad men are. Okay, and now when we really need men, see, this is the catch. You don't you really realize you need men when there's a war.
Yeah.
Then in the war, you find out there are no men, and now the women are threatened. The women and children are threatened because there aren't any men. Instead of running to fight the war, they're running away from the war and leaving the women and children behind. So we need men. You know, sometimes you think that because a man does this and does that, you never know a man until a man is under a threat and a man is fighting for his life or the life of his wife and children. Then you see the real man. You see how fast he give his life up for his wife and children. To be honest with you, if some danger comes to the household where there's a husband, wife, and children, and that man get up to go address that danger, you don't know if he's coming back or not.
He don't either.
He don't either, right? Cuz he gonna get up. He's not gonna even think about it. He's gonna get up and go face the danger. Well, that's easy for a man. That's the easiest thing that a man can do is get up and face the danger, not knowing if he's gonna survive or not. Because it's in our DNA, it's in our nature to do so. We can't resist it. The man ain't gonna shake the woman, the wife, go check that noise out back there. He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do it. But what these people have done to us, they have minimized our effectiveness as human beings and as people. Okay? And they've done that in every possible way that they could. They don't want a strong black family. They don't want that in society at all. They attack the women the same way. They are merciless. Look, if they're fighting a war over in Iraq, Iran, and all of that, do you think they spared the women? No. Do you think they spared the children? No. Are they sparing the women and children in Israel? No, they're not. They kill everybody. And because they don't want any strength. They want to be superior. They want to be superior in every sense of the word in the lives, over the lives of everybody else. And we can't let them do that. So you have to keep at it. And that's why I say this, that we really have to overturn everything that we have been taught.
And how do you suppose we do that, Salute? How do you suppose we do that?
We have to unthink. We have been normalized. Okay, we accept what we have been taught in schools and things of that nature. and have made it a reality. And we don't go back and check any of it. We don't check what we have been taught about geography with what's being said about geography today. We just accept whatever that book said way back then. So we have to unthink is what I'm saying. In other words, new values are happening. As Levon said, new values, new ways of seeing things are happening. And if we don't check and uncheck what we've been taught, we are, as Rose said, we stuck. We can't go any further, Levon.
Yeah, right.
We can't go any further. We still believe, look, this is what racism is about and white supremacy. It's about dominating all cultures and causing all cultures believe that the color of a person's skin makes them superior. By strapping laws and allowing everybody else to see the privilege of the skin color. You know, here's an ignorant, racist fool in Makalaki village in the top of Mount Smoky Mountain, no TV, no nothing, is better than a person of color who has a PhD. That's what white supremacy and racism is. Better, not only better, more intelligent. You see what I'm saying? More qualified, more everything because of the color of that person's skin. That's what white supremacy and racism is all about. And we have to kill it. See, it's our duty in our lifetime to fight that monster, that one-eyed cyclops. It's our responsibility to fight it and kill it. And if we're not doing that, we are failing in our purpose for even being born. We have no other reason to be born than to fight racism and hate. Go ahead, Rose.
And I totally agree with you on that. And here's the spooky part to me that makes me wonder, how can this cycle change? You know, I've been in several predicaments where I have actually been trying to talk to some of our people on changing the cycles. And sadly to say, it's been in situations where when you're trying to talk to some of our people, rather than some of them listening and agreeing and trying to figure out, yeah, I think that's a solution, or maybe we can do this, they're thinking and looking at you, well, you think you're smarter than us, or you think you got the answer, or that's not going to work. Well, you this, and sadly to say, I've been in predicaments where I tried to make a lot of things be different, but it is one of us that would always come up and be against it. Not because they don't believe in it, but because it's a brother or sister that's trying to find a better way. Instead of them trying to get with you to helping you to make the situation better, they're looking at you like you want to be in control, or you're trying to lead, or, if we can all just think on one accord, and I do agree when you said that earlier, Levon, but how do you get us to do that? It's really hard. I've been in the school district since 2004, and I've had a lot of situations in the school district as far as with our children. Okay. God forbid, when I was once when there was once a white principal, in which, of course, we know that they have no idea how to control our children. They know nothing about our children. But they are so quick to step in your way when you are trying to teach your children what needs to be done. And it's like that with the adults right now. I can't see. I try so hard to work with a lot of us. I really work. I try my best.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
they would
hard.
rather go, they
Yes.
would rather go
Mm-hmm.
on the side with the enemy
Mm-hmm.
before they go on the side with the brother or sister. All because they don't want you to feel um I can't get the word control. It's
Yeah.
not a control thing. It's a people's thing. You know, and it's just really hard to get all of us on one side together. It's the same thing we went through during this last election we had. There are so many people that did not want Kamala to be the president because they were saying, "Oh, I remember when she put a lot of guys away. She this and she did that." Okay, but you rather bring the white man in that you already know is prejudice. You what more could she have done than what he is going to do and have already done?
Well,
So I say that
mm-hmm.
because we can't get anywhere because we don't stick together. Yes, I would love to think positive, and I do think positive, but we have to be real at the same time.
Yes.
To think something and to do something is two different things.
Well,
You know, we have to start being about
mm-hmm.
more positive than what we're doing. I mean, we're killing each other's up every single day. Um, it's sad. It's really sad.
But one thing is this, you know, colonization is a factor. It's real. It's not a joke. I'm listening to the Africans over and with Captain
All
Traore.
right.
Yeah, I'm listening
Yeah.
to those people address their concerns in social media. They have the same concerns that we have.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same concern. They have been colonized, and they are trying to tell each other right now,
Mm-hmm.
they have to get out of the colonization that the French put them in.
Mm-hmm.
And other
It's so
countries,
true.
European countries have
Mm-hmm.
put them in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Mm-hmm.
no different. They learned how to hurt the African people from how they hurt us in America for 300 years.
Mm-hmm.
They got the
Exactly.
same principle that they forced us into and created a
Mm-hmm.
system of colonization and exported that system on the continent of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But we believe in education. See, when you're colonized, you believe that what the colonizers are delivering is the essential principles for life. You can't live without it. That's what you believe. You believe they
Right.
have told you the absolute truth. And if you're going to live a life and you're going to become what you are naturally intended to become, you got to follow what they taught you. That's a lie. You don't need them at all. I mean, like zero.
Mm-hmm.
You without their education, you would have learned how to count if you want to count. You know what I mean? You didn't need
Right.
that. And counting is not theirs. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to Africa.
Yeah, almost
Alpha,
everything they know they
yes,
stole from ancient
the
Egypt.
alphabet belongs to Africans.
Mm-hmm.
Algebra belongs to Africans. They didn't teach us nothing that we didn't already know.
Exactly.
Okay? But what they did to us in classroom, they killed our analytical skills. So when we get in a situation, when we get in a situation, if people start hearing your liberation message, mine or anybody else's, and they have to kind of think about it and analyze it, they can't do it. So what they do, they just maintain the same idea they had before they even talk to you.
Because it's lazy-minded.
It's
called
lazy-minded.
You don't want to put the work in that it takes to do what needs to be done. It's so much convenient for them to just stay where they are.
That's right.
Without doing the work.
As a brother told me that back in the 80s. He told me, so Toulouse, he was trying to teach me a little Spanish, right? His name was Oma. Wait a minute. Abioma. Okay. And he was from Brazil, I believe. But he had been in America a long time, and he wanted to, help me brush up on a couple of Spanish words. In the end, he told me, he said, Toulouse, Americans are just lazy-minded. You're not going, you're just lazy-minded, and you don't want to do what is necessary to capture another language. Okay? And that's the way we are across the board. We're so comfortable in our non-existence. We unknown, unseen, and quiet. And that was one of the principles of slavery, of a Negro male. Seen but not heard.
Exactly.
So that's why you see black men going around everywhere almost just as silent. They don't say nothing. They don't raise their voices. They don't speak loudly or audiously. Many of them still keep their heads down.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I think that the key is education, because we don't know who we are. We've been lied to, and we have to unlearn and relearn who we are. And I think those younger people, I witness a lot of them. They are waking up and to the truth of who they really are. And so that's the key. You have to know.
The only way they're gonna wake up is because, as LeVon said earlier, it's got to be some kind of mental telepathy. Okay, because they're not listening to anybody unless they're getting information on social media.
A lot of them are listening. I see a lot of them that's waking up and learning the truth, and not what they told us who we are, but who we really are.
Yeah, I see a lot of it in social media. I really do. I see a lot of young people doing podcasts and posting and a lot of things and expressing different ways of thinking, different knowledge, and they're doing quite well. A lot of people listening. I agree with that. But
they lie to us about everything. You're gonna have to unlearn that foolishness, that brainwash.
I agree.
Go ahead, LeVon.
I do a lot of the kind of work I do. I'm all over Northwest Indiana, and I talk to a lot of people, black, white, Mexicans, everybody. And there are a lot of young people who are waking up, and they waking up with knowledge that'll just blow you out the water. And believe it or not, I'm finding a lot of white people know who we are.
Yes.
Right.
And respect the fact that they want us to wake up and realize who we are.
Right.
True. I totally agree with that, LeVon. I totally agree with that one. You are so correct.
Yeah. And but the younger white people. You'll find a few older ones, but the majority of the young ones, man, the stuff that they be bringing. I used to meet with these guys in Roseland every Sunday. And one brother brought this white guy in there. He had the gown and everything. The long hair looked just like Jesus Christ when he walked through the door, But when that guy started talking, he educated a lot of us on things about Africa we didn't even know.
Right.
I mean, when they get into it, they go deep.
Yes, they do. They tend to study hard.
And they develop a level of respect for us that supersedes what we have for our own self sometimes.
Right.
Yes, because they were just as lost as we were, the
Yeah,
younger, yeah,
Yeah.
and they're
yeah.
finding out a lot of
They realize
things.
they've been programmed too
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
think they superior and that we're
Mm-hmm.
inferior, and they realizing everything they think they know is upside down, turned around backwards.
And many of them are wanting their culture, and
Yeah,
they want to be culturally connected to their people, and they can't do that claiming to be white. White
no.
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have a culture, so they
Mhm.
want to get back to their ethnicity, and they don't know how to do it. And
Yeah,
they're fighting for that because they don't want to be identified simply as white. That minimizes their humanity. Ours too. If we just gonna
and,
go
and
around
they're
and say we black and they
they
white, that minimizes
they
our
thirst
humanity.
for melanin.
Yeah. Said
They thirst for melanin, and the things that they're discovering about
yeah,
melanin
yeah,
and the intelligence, the strands of DNA in melanin.
yeah.
Man, they going crazy about that, and they
Yes.
trying to get it any kind of way they can. Now a lot of them
Yeah.
doing it deviously.
Yeah, they getting it out your skin.
Yeah, they
Like you
stealing
told me,
organs. They
they
doing
doing everything. They just
yeah,
want it.
yeah.
Dr. Omar, you've been silent with us, and I know this is a conversation that we talk about all the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, we have to fix this generation. It's in a state of disrepair,
Yeah.
and it's the social media that they are influenced by, and the lack of fathers in the household. Because right now, back in my day, it was like 70%, 80% fathers in the household. Now it's less than 30%.
Yeah. Whoa, yeah, a whole lot less than 30%, Dr. Omar. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm
single
saying. They're
digit.
not there, but they should have been there. Otherwise, the mother should have never had a child with a father who ain't gonna be the father of his own children and raise those children in the correct way. But we do that, and then we okay with it. And the women do that, and they okay with it. That's
Mhm.
out of order.
Right.
That's not how you do family.
Right.
But we got to go back to that path, back when we had back in the day. And the street I lived on Forest, at least 70-80% of the house, there was a man in that house,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and he took the business.
Yeah.
Today, very rarely do you see a man in the house. You see a boyfriend, you see a pimp, but you don't see a father.
Right.
And that's a sad state of affairs. But the black woman has to come back to the table and demand certain things. Otherwise, leave him alone. He ain't with it.
But I don't think they even have the knowledge to do that. And when I say they, I'm thinking about that generation under 40, maybe under 40, under 35 or something like that. It seems like those women are like content with the way things are right now.
Because a lot of them don't even know what they don't know what to look for. They don't know what is wrong. They were one of the people that were grown up in a household without a father. So whatever they saw, as Dr. Baruti said, whatever the mom went through with the boyfriend or the pimp, okay, that's what they know.
Yeah. Sure.
They
Yeah,
don't know
exactly.
anything else. They weren't
Exactly.
taught anything else. You
So
got you got in some cases you have uh the mothers of the daughter whom the mother is the grandmother is a grandmother at 30 years old, and they all come from the same environment. So what could the mother teach the daughter? The daughter saw what the mother has done or did, and her life is exactly what she grew up looking at. So she has no clue that it's the wrong thing. And even for one that knows the truth, they've gone so far in it, they don't even care. They don't even care. You hear some
But
people
that's
say, well, my mother I was raised up, my mama took care of all of us without a man, da da da. Okay, so they feel that they're that. How it makes them feel that they are powerful women because they grew up in a household without a man. So,
Go ahead,
you
Dr. Omar.
got people that just weren't taught any better, and they have no clue that is wrong.
We got to go back and reclaim our African culture because that's not what we did in Africa. That's what we have been victims of that in America after and during slavery and after slavery because they raped their wife in slavery. Some
Exactly.
like Thomas Jefferson with Sally Hemings. He raped and they had 6 or 7 children because he raped this girl at 15 years old. But we got to go back and be the real men that we were before we came over here on the slave ship. Go back and reclaim our heritage, our culture, and go back and be the father that we were supposed to be before we even got over here.
I think one of the things that we have to do as men who have been separated from our family, we still have to be responsible for the children, and we still can't just say, I don't want them, like so many of them do. You still have to relate. You still have to share wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thank God that women live a whole lot longer than men because those grandmothers could go back and still teach them grandchildren better, and that's the reason why they live so long, because they can maintain that culture and that knowledge and pass that information. Go ahead, Dr.
Now think about this right here, Dr. Now think about this. The father, right? The father today is the video game.
Yes.
The father today is the TV in the child's room.
Yeah.
I agree.
That father needs to come back and be the real father, and he can't. And you got to put his name on the birth certificate. I see a lot of fathers naming on the birth certificate. Father unknown. That's not real. That's not our culture. That's not us. If you can't claim your child, then what use is having a child in the first place?
Well,
leave him alone. You think I'll be a father?
We are not able to understand the crime and violence because many of us just don't believe that our domestic life has anything to do with it. We actually believe that crime and violence and the shooting and killing has to do with nothing. Just happened. It's just happened. Nobody did nothing. It just happened. No, it things, let me back up for a minute. In scripture, biblical scripture or any other scripture, doesn't make any difference. There's always prophecy in almost all scripture. There's some kind of prophecy. And in almost all scripture, there's an example of people who did not fulfill their promise with God Almighty, right? And as a result of that, some kind of punishment comes upon those people. In almost all scripture. But with us, ex-slaves of America, we don't believe that. We don't believe that there is something that we did a long time ago is why we are living as we are living today. It's called a curse. We are under that. We're under that situation, and we don't want to accept it. We just want to believe that times change, things change. But time, it's not about time, and it's not about things. It's about what we did in the past. It ain't about the white man's oppression. It ain't about none of that. Because my mother, God bless her soul.
Amen.
When we were children under the same welfare program, and she applied for welfare and food stamps. She applied. But when those people told her, a man cannot be in the house, and that was also in public housing too. And they come to my mama's house and knocked on the door, and my mama said, you ain't coming up in here. I'm not going to stay. I'm leaving. You ain't coming here checking on my husband and nobody else. And we moved. In that same week, we moved from that apartment in public housing to the next street over. But the women, all of the women could have done that, but they didn't. And the reason they didn't, the majority of them, and based on what I know, is because they wanted that money. And we were poor. Black people were poor, so poor that we had to go next door and borrow a cup of sugar or a cup of flour or some salt. We had to go to neighbors, from one neighbor to the other one, rounding up stuff that a mother could cook. Go get a cup of washing powder from down the hall, down to Miss So-and-so or so-and-so's house. Okay, that's how poor we were. So that welfare check and them food stamps were a liberator to poor women. And they bit the bait. They took the bait. And we are personal, all of us as a race of people are responsible for our own demise. It's the same thing happened when when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated and the riots broke out, and the Caucasian Europeans and whites decided that they were going to give the Negroes something. They were going to give them more jobs and all this kind of stuff and better pay. And guess who ran out to get those things first? Black women. They went after those things before they even knew it was safe to do it. And as time went on, they found themselves trapped in a situation where they could not take care of their children and their families. And then what did Big Daddy do? The state said, all women keep on keeping them corporate jobs and keeping them careers and all this stuff. Y'all keep doing that. We're gonna make sure that we give you child care and daycare, so you can. So basically, what they were saying is, well, women, you all want it. We're gonna give it to you, and we're gonna make sure your family is divided forever. And that's what happened. And so today, because of all of that program, that was a program on us. Because of that program that the United States government placed on us, we in the predicament that we're in today, where we don't know if we're going to walk outside and be shot by one of our children or not. We're confused. See, because of all of that, as a people, we're confused. We're absolutely confused. We don't know what to do. And nobody's talking. The white man ain't telling us what to do. The church isn't telling us what to do. The politicians aren't telling us what to do. Nobody is telling us what to do. So we just are confused people trying to figure out things for ourselves. And what good is that going to do? Help one family, two families here, this one help this. It's not going to help us. So look, until our women, and I see a lot of it in social media where women are addressing these issues. It's hard, it's bitter, it hurts, but we got to get beyond that. Until women get together and launch a movement to help women understand what life is all about, we're not going to be able to do anything. We're just going to stay confused. Dr. Omar?
We you know what, we got to solve our own problem, because the system that we're in created the problem.
Exactly.
It's going to take to solve the problem. But we got to go back to our own culture. The culture we got is something that they gave us, and it's poison. Go back to our own culture.
We have to know who we are. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
We have to know who we are. Period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Period.
Go ahead, Sheila.
My daddy couldn't read or write, but he took care of everybody in the house.
Mine couldn't either. I had to add up my daddy's hours that he worked on the job. He couldn't count and couldn't read. You know, but the thing is, we can't stay paralyzed. You know, see, there's a lot of programs out there, and everybody's dealing with unity and coming together and these types of things. which is good. But we have to go to the root cause, and the only way we're gonna get to the root cause is get back to the root.
Yes.
And the root is knowing yourself. That's the period.
Knowing yourself.
But how you gonna know?
We living their lie. We're living their lie that they told us. That's what we're living. Their lie.
We are.
And
Absolutely.
we're not being us. Period.
That's right.
I agree. But see, you got 45 million people, and I keep saying that over and over again. When we're in these groups, I mean, when I'm on radio and when I'm doing live, Dr. Omar and I doing live radio, we would always mention you have 45 million people you got to think for. And how do you do that? All right? You come up with an idea, you come up with a plan, but you got to be able to apply that to 45 million people. Okay.
And when you apply it and they agree, some people, when it's time, as the children used to say in school, when it's time to, as they would say, put up or shut up, you got nobody that's willing to
Right.
work with their
Exactly.
and it's still a sad situation.
Yeah. But see, we can solve the problem. See, we can do it.
We must solve the problem.
We don't have a choice.
Teach one. Each one teach one. Because the young people, they're not waiting on nobody. They're doing it.
They're doing
Sheila,
it. That's true.
Miss Greer, I'm gonna tell you something. Each one teach one was a phrase created in 1969. Okay? It was created in 1969, right after we had the problem with Dr. King's assassination, the burning of the cities, and then we started running into the state problem. The grassroots activists way back then found the solution in each one teach one. That's been 50 years. And we're in the condition that we're in right now. Okay? So yes, each one teach one would work. But it hasn't yet.
I see it's getting better. I do.
Well, yes,
I do.
Sure.
I see young people, they're not waiting. They're
see when you
leading the way.
See when you know the old days and the new days too, and you can make that correlation, right? And you can deal with the energy of two specific periods of time on Earth. That person knows if it's getting better or not, or if it has gotten better. Believe it or not, it has gotten better. It's a lot of good things going on.
Yes, it has gotten some better.
A huge, insurmountable amount of good things going on today for Black people in America.
Everybody's not going to get it, but there's enough of us that are already that's getting it.
But we have to re-establish domestic life. That's the only kind of life that's going to survive. Now, if we can't reinstitute domestic life under the plan of Almighty God, husband, wife, children, we're not going to survive. See, God didn't guarantee everybody going to make it. There have been some people who gone extinct. We're not guaranteed. And there have been people that were enslaved, that gone through all the oppression and hate from the rich and powerful like we are today. They didn't make it. They're nowhere to be seen. Can't be heard. But those people who made the sacrifices and made the changes and made the adjustments, reconstituted themselves, reestablished themselves, they make it. They ain't going nowhere because they did all the things they supposed to do to continue life on this earth.
And until we give white folks their stuff back, like their religion, their holidays,
continue to be the way it is now.
Exactly. I agree. I agree. I agree. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm gonna only tell you because I'm the host, one of the hosts anyway. But I'm gonna tell you why. Because in all of that they've given us in our colonization and education, it's all a lie. See, it's none of it is true. And they themselves are saying today, Easter's not true. Christmas is not true. You know, I'm gonna tell you something. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a lot of people don't really understand what that was all about back in those days, right? But he was all about helping black men stand up to be men. He called a white man the devil back in 1930s. You know, that should have been a death sentence, right, Dr. Omar? But he had all the African American brothers saying the white man's the devil all across the United States. The white man is the devil. The white man, but that caused them to stand up because the black man's back was broken.
Correct.
His back was broken. He thought the white man was right there was God. He thought the white man was God because the white man could do anything to him. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad turned around and say, okay, but the white man is the devil. And Malcolm was in an interview and proved to a Caucasian man that he was the devil. He said, well, I guess I am the devil then, after Malcolm got through with him, right? So the thing is, we have to accept clearly that everything that we have learned from those people is a lie. And it is a lie.
Everything.
They telling us right now. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said one day, the devil gonna tell us that I am the devil. And we gonna turn around and tell him, you ain't the devil. You're not the devil. The devil in the ground. You see what I'm saying? It's so hard to convince us that these people have lied to us until we won't even accept the fact that they're going to tell us who they really are. They're telling us right now who they are.
And they're showing us.
They're showing us.
We've been seeing it.
Who dropped the bomb on those innocent people in Nagasaki and Hiroshima? Who's over there killing all those women and children in Palestine? Who got those children in gold mines and mineral mines over in Africa working for nothing every day, enslaved, right today?
Yeah.
Who's body snatching and stealing organs out of people and selling them on the organ black market? Who's doing all that stuff? Who has put 1.5 million black men and women in prison on half of them probably frivolous charges? Like the woman who went and got some food for her child on an expired, using a food stamp card, where she lied on one line in the food stamp application, and they gave her 15 years. And we still believe that, I think what it is, we hope, black people are very hopeful, American blacks are. We hope and we pray that one day Caucasian, Europeans, and white gonna turn out to be okay. Their ass ain't gonna turn out to be okay. They know it. Look, they tell you we ain't gonna do nothing different than we always have done. They gonna tell you in your face, real polite.
Well, he that don't treat you right certainly not gonna teach you right.
They're not gonna look.
That's very true.
How in the world? So you go back to the church, right? Okay. Many of us believe that the slave was the one who wrote the Bible, and the slave was the one who created the church. We will not believe that our ancestors were slaves, were beaten if they were caught reading, definitely were not taught to write, were beaten and killed if they was telling other slaves about the idea of reading and writing. That these people gave us religion, gave us the church, and gave us the Bible. They did that. They gave it to us. We didn't create that. We didn't make that. That wasn't our decision. We didn't go up there and, Master, God damn it, I want the Bible. You give it to us right now. We didn't do that. Damn it, we want a church over there by that big tree right now. We didn't do that. Those people found out that because there were a lot of subversion and a lot of plantation owners were being killed and murdered, there was a lot of revolt. They found out through one of their smart, ingenious Caucasian people that if we give them the Bible and we give them the church, they would stop all that revolting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be damned if they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They gave the Negro the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and gave the Negro the church, and the Negro stopped revolting. And they haven't revolted since.
Mm-hmm. And put a strip in there where you must obey your masters.
Oh, I'll put all that in there.
All of that in the strip.
They put obey your master. They put that in it, and that you don't get nothing until you die and go to heaven. That's in it. They put everything in it that made our ancestors a better slave, and then our ancestors in turn taught us how to be obedient, and we are obedient today. You go on one of these jobs, well, y'all couldn't do what I did. I was really rebellious on jobs now. I didn't give them a break. That's why I had about 50 jobs. But anyway, I wouldn't accept nothing short of perfection from them. I didn't care. I'd walk out. You can talk to me like that and go on back, quit that job, go ahead on, you know. But today, we're taught to be obedient, to serve our master, get on that job, do the best job you can do, make him the most money you can make, and you get nothing in return but a few pennies on a dollar. And everybody knows that black people make 50% on their salary than white folks. We know that. We know we are not getting equal pay for equal job. Every now and then, you'll find some company somewhere that try to pay everybody on the same scale. Every now and then. But the national statistics clearly point to we only get 50% of what they get. This is why our mean income across the United States is maybe $30-some thousand. That means a whole lot of us are making under 20,000. You know, so the bottom line is our obedience to Caucasian, European, whites are not getting us anywhere. We're not accomplishing nothing.
Exactly.
You're not accomplishing the American dream. You're not accomplishing anything. What a few of us do, but and the ones that, gosh, the most ignorant thing that we can ever do is think that because LaVon make $1 billion and Magic Johnson make $1 billion and Oprah make $1 billion, we some kind of way thinking our man we've gotten somewhere. We've not gotten anywhere because those people are rich. Hell, that were rich Negroes doing slavery. There were millionaire black folk doing slavery, but they were not in the South. They were in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Boston, and all them different places, but they were rich. They were the freedmen of America. They were in Detroit. They were all up in the northern part of the country. They were rich. They had money. They had everything. And down here in the South, We didn't have nothing. They were killing and lynching us and doing all that stuff. And then today we think that we have accomplished something because these guys got some money. No, we've always had money. It was our liberty is what we've been fighting for all this time. That's what Frederick Douglass said at the Freedmen's Conference. Who did not give a damn about black folks in the South. They were saying, hey, we got it made up here. We make our business, we make our money, we free. What's happening down there is good for them. But it was Frederick Douglass who told those black brothers and sisters, look, aren't those men in the South, aren't they your brothers? And when he made that connection, those brothers, those freedmen of the North, black brothers and sisters, they agreed. They voted that we're gonna do all we can to finance the brothers and sisters who was fighting to bring freedom to the South. We were just that divided. It was the North and the South. The rich people was in the North, black folks, they were rich and wealthy, having a good life, and the poorest people were in the South. And Frederick Douglass said, aren't they your brothers? Aren't they a man? To the Freedmen's Association, and I think that was in Boston, and they said yes. And they had a turn of heart. And they started financing things to help free their brothers and sisters in the South with their money. Today, these Negroes with money, with the $1 billion here and $1 billion there, they aren't doing that. You know what they would do? They would go make a donation to some Ivy League college, make huge donations to them. But on the ground, they aren't doing anything on the ground for their poor brothers and sisters in the South. Nothing. Because they can't. Their contracts will not allow them to deal with social issues at all. They can't even comment on social issues. They can barely say, I'm black. So we can't use them as an example for our progress in the United States of America. The only people that we can use for our progress in the United States of America is your neighbor next door. The people on the bottom, the people who are having a hard time. If you see them not having a hard time, we progressing. But as long as our people are struggling and trying to make it on the bottom, we've not progressed in America. See, we have to get out of that idea that if I make it, I'm okay. But what happens when you die? Mr. I made it okay. That's what the judgment is. That's the criteria. The criteria is all of us lifting up, all of us are involved, if we want to be, in good education, true education, trade and commerce, if we want to do that. See, as a human being, we fundamentally have the right to our own mind, our own way, personal way of thinking. You have a right to your own mind, and you have a right to bring the ideas that's in your mind out into the public domain. That's what liberty is. That's what freedom is. Freedom is not us walking across the street if we want to, or going to the grocery store if we want, go buy this and buy that. That's not what freedom is. That's what you call a manifestation, maybe, but maybe not. Because just because slaves went where they wanted to go. You all didn't know that, did you? They went, all they have to do is get a pass. Master can write him out a pass. He can go wherever he want to go. He had that kind of freedom to go where he wanted. Okay, so they give us a pass, we go where we want to. But the bottom line is we have to be free in the mind. We have to be able to lift all of ourselves up. The whole 45 million of us have to be moved to another level. And the first thing we got to do is get crime off our backs. And bring, like we was talking earlier, bring the father back in the household. Bring mothers back together with their children. Yeah, we were very successful when our wives and mothers didn't have careers and they had babies and they were at home raising their children. We were super successful. Go ahead, Sheila.
First thing we got to do is know thyself, and everything else will fall in place. Period.
Yes. Yes. Anybody else? Know thyself.
Yeah, know who you really are. You
Yes.
won't be acting a fool. Yeah.
That's
You know how
right.
to act. If you know who you are, you'll know how to act.
So that takes a lesson, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. That takes
Each
some
one
education. Yeah.
You know, Dr. Lee,
Yes.
we need to go back and teach fathers how to be fathers. They can't just abandon their children and then they don't have no responsibility. That day it's got to end. We have got to go back to the table and be fathers in that household. Even if you divorce your wife, you can't divorce your children.
Right. That's true. You know,
And right now, we don't have it right now. Most households I see, there's no father in the house. Where'd you go? I mean, why would you be with a woman, have a child with her, and then you abandon your child? That's not fatherhood.
You know, and I remember something. I remember you caused me to remember my father, and I know you talk about your dad all the time. But I was thinking about how dads used to teach their sons certain things, not necessarily about the birds and the bees and all that kind of stuff, right? But hands-on stuff. Okay, my dad, he was the kind of man. He would give you an example. This lady wanted her house painted, right? My dad used to sell paint, 55-gallon drums of paint, right? Now we can't go into how he got it, but he had plenty of paint. That's all I can remember. Daddy had a lot of paint all the time. So this woman wanted her house painted. So my daddy took the job to paint this lady's house. And Eugene, Levon, because Eugene and Daddy was the one that was gonna get the house painted, right? So my daddy, what he's decided, I'm gonna get my boys to paint that house. Now we little boys, right? So Daddy and Eugene would be in the house being entertained by the homeowner, right? My brothers and I, we were outside painting the house. So my younger brother Dexter, he was always the rebellious one. And Dexter said, they got us out here painting this house, and they inside that house and drinking and eating and in that cool air, and we out here in the hot sun painting this house. He said, I'm gonna paint the windows. So Dexter started painting the windows. So when my dad and Eugene come out, his brother come out, the house was painted, but the windows were painted too. And my father got upset and angry and with Dexter, and the lady who owned the house said, Mr. Gale, don't worry about it, because they were just boys. But the point to all of that is, even though we were boys, men would give their sons men-sized jobs. Okay? Because they knew that their boys needed to be ready for the world. They need to know when they make mistakes, when they were on top of the job, when they were doing something well and excellent at it, and vice versa. And my father also would sell 55-gallon drums. Back then, they were garbage barrels. They 55-gallon drums, they were garbage barrels. And Daddy would get these garbage barrels from where he worked, and he'd pile those garbage barrels so high up on the back of his truck, it looked like they were reaching the sky. My brothers and I, who were little boys, wasn't even teens yet, we would have to climb up there and take those barrels down off that truck, roll them around on the side of the house, and I would have to paint those barrels. And then on the weekend, when Daddy was off work, we'd have to put those barrels back up on that truck, ride through the neighborhood. Daddy let us out at the beginning of a street. We knock on doors all the way down the street to ask the homeowners if they wanted to buy a barrel. When we sold a barrel, Daddy would drive the truck to the house where the barrel was sold. We would have to take the barrels off the truck and roll them up to the house. And we, like I said, we weren't even teens yet. We weren't 13 yet. And I remember when I couldn't roll the barrel, and my daddy told me, boy, give me that barrel. You can't even roll a damn barrel. So he rolled the barrel up to the house so I can see him roll that barrel. And you know what I said to myself? I'm not going to ask him another time to come roll a barrel for me. I'm going to learn how to roll these barrels myself. And I did. But these things are essential in teaching boys character. See, these boys today have no character.
They sure don't.
They don't know their ability in nothing. I told my father one time, Daddy, when I was 15, I had a car. My car broke down in the alley behind the house. I hated to do it, but I had to ask Daddy to crank my car up for me. When he come down, he cranked the car up. And he said, boy, you, in these very words, boy, you ain't nothing but a tool toter. And a tool toter is not a mechanic, just somebody who walks around with a lot of tools. They can't fix nothing. They just got tools. So he called me a tool toter. And you know what I told myself? I'm going to show him. He did that for that reason, so I can show him. And I did. I built a high-performance race car that picked the front wheel off the ground. He was so excited about that until he talked about it until he died, that my son built this car. And he did. He would tell, when I come to Chicago to learn and be in that alley back there with him, he would tell everybody there when I came up, my boy built a car that did this and that. He was proud. But I had to add in my own mind because of what he challenged me with. He called me a tool toter. That made me better. That built character in me from my dad.
Yes, sir.
That's the importance of a father.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
These young people, young people don't know what a dad is. A dad don't sit down and talk to their sons about, son, this is the way you do this, and this is the way you do that. No, that's not the way it's done. He give them a challenge. He talk about them. He tell them you ain't nothing. He down them. And it's in that boy, that mystical tie between that boy and his daddy. That's a tie there that you can't break. Unless you run him out the house, you don't let him see his son for 20 years. And the son gonna find his dad anyway. He gonna find him after 20 years. So what's up, Pop? You know? But the bottom line is that the language that a dad used with his son, you can't break that. Because he knows the nature of his son. He knows that I'm going to tell him this, and this going to make him do that. But women think that because the son come out of their womb, this is the test for the woman now. It's not the test for the man, the test for the woman. A male child come out of the womb of a woman. That woman immediately believes that she knows the nature of the child, but she doesn't. She doesn't know the nature of that boy. She's going to know the nature of that daughter, but she's not going to know the nature of that boy. That's the test from Almighty God. on the woman to cause the woman to have to rely on the man who planted the seed in her womb to raise that boy. She can't do it. A mother cannot raise a son. Scientifically proven. Can't do it. Now she can raise a male. She can raise because she's going to feed, clothe, and shelter it. But to raise a male into a man, can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Looks like it, sounds like it, smells like it, tastes like it, but it's not. You know, a woman cannot raise a male into a man. It takes another man to do that. I don't care if it's his uncle, his granddaddy, the man down the street. I don't care who it is, but it takes a man to point a male in the right direction to become a man. And that's what we're not doing today. We don't do that. We act like we're afraid of these boys out there because they packing guns and all this kind of stuff. All the thing they want is respect. They just want you to respect them. That's all. They'll listen to you, but you got to address them in a respectable way. I've talked to them. I call him son. I speak to him. I say, how you doing, son? They speak back. If an opportunity arises, I may say something to them, but most of the time I'm not going to say anything past that. But the thing is, they'll listen to you. But you definitely, and that's a good thing that you got to speak to them in respect because they're young men, they're adolescents. You got to show them how to respect a man by respecting them. But we don't want to do that. We want to let them go. We want to say, well, they too bad. I don't want to have nothing to do with them. And their mama says the same thing. Oh, they too bad. I don't want to have nothing to do with them. I've heard women say it was, my son is in prison for 35 years. And he in prison because he wouldn't listen to me. What? So you tagging that on to your son? You think he's in prison because he didn't listen to you? That makes you feel some kind of way? That if he had listened to me, he wouldn't be in prison? No, that's not that's the wrong attitude. The proper attitude is my son in jail because he committed a crime. It's not because he didn't listen to me. He committed a crime. My son went to prison. Two sons of mine went to prison. And I told him this. You're in here because you committed a crime. The money that I have spent on you for a lawyer and send you this money all the time in jail, talking about you need hygienes and all that money I could have given to your college education. Well, Daddy, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you're sorry. But I could have given you a great education, but you chose to be a criminal. I wouldn't let him off the hook. No way. But he's definitely not there because he didn't listen to me. He's there, or his mother, because he's there because he committed a crime that he should not have committed. So we have to reorientate ourselves and get our heads back right so we can raise these boys and girls. Look, it's a revolution on the horizon, y'all. Look, Africa is rising. And then if these continents and countries, if this continent and countries in Africa refuse to submit to the West, there's going to be war, a lot of war, because the West is not willing to give up all that wealth that they've been getting for 300 and 400 years. They're not willing to let us go in America. and share wealth with them. They're not willing to do that. So we got to have our boys and girls' heads screwed on right. We got to reconstitute family life, domestic life. We got to educate them. As Ms. Grill said, even if it's each one teach one, we have to do that. We're going to lose if we don't. And like Ibrahim Traoré, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, what he said this just the other day, yesterday or day before yesterday. He said this to his African people across the continent. He said, you either rise up today and be free, or you're going to be slaves forever.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that a powerful phrase? That's what he told the continent.
Mm-hmm.
You either rise up and you fight for your freedom, or you're going to be a slave forever. And he ain't lying. He's not lying. He's telling the truth. And that applies to us too. We have to do better. Dr. Omar. Okay. Anybody can jump in. The Club Geneva show, that's cuz. Jump in. I know you're a little late, but hey, we going on. We in our second hour. That's powerful.
It is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, quite well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm at the fire station right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but so I just wanted to ask you, you know, I heard you talking and you said it's a lot of, of course, we have a lot of good young men in our communities. They need guidance, they need examples, they need positivity. But one thing that is tough to do is to, instill those habits in them and create that when you up against so much negativity, like the drug dealing, like the negative music influence and entertainment influence. That's a huge hurdle to overcome. So what are some action steps towards making that change? Because to me, you got to weed out some of the bad actors before you can even get the full ear of the young men in the community.
We may not ever be able to do that, but it's one thing that we can do. We can show them in our own behavior, in our own ways of relating. When we out in public and we got our wives and children with them, we can show them how to hold the door open for a woman, open the car door for a woman. We can show them how to talk to our children. And they watching. They looking at everything we do. Okay? They paying attention. Okay? And they'll be looking and won't say a word. But it's one thing that cannot, that is one thing that they can't do. They cannot turn off their nature. They can't do it. When they see another man standing and acting and carrying on like a man, okay? I'm not talking about physique and physically and all that kind. I'm talking about mentally, standing, holding his ground. Those boys admire that. That seed is planted in their minds when they see it, and it's going to grow. See, our problem is not going to be solved overnight. It's not going to happen. It has taken since 1970 for us to get to where we are now. 70, 80, 90, 20, 60 years. Or something like that, anyway. For us, it started way back then, right? So we are where we are as a result of decades of neglect, decades of abuse, misuse, miseducation, diseducation, uneducation, all of that. So we're where we are. But we have one good thing that we can do. We can be the men that we are. We can hold our grounds. And then we can show the women and show the boys what it is to be a man and a woman. That'll work. And every now and then you
I
get an
have
opportunity
something.
to talk to them, huh? Go ahead, Mimi.
Um, you know what I see a lot of Black families do that has become a good generational pass down
Mm-hmm.
for their Black boys, whether it be the uncles, the daddies, or who the males in the family. What they do is they push all their boys to sports. They keep them active, even if it's not sports. It's something that uh like my husband, he already has a plan for my 4-year-old. We're finna put him in soccer. We're his rearing is, he gonna keep him in sports. His goal is to put him in eventually basketball, because he was in basketball all the way up until all the way up to college and things like that. You keep your children focused. And I'm not trying to get away from what men do, but that is a male thing. We grow up seeing, what I'm saying, you see things, you see your father play basketball and he's sports oriented, and you keep your children focused on something like that.
Mm.
And that takes their attention off any other thing that could,
But
cause them to have too much time on their hands, because they focused into something like that. But that's how I see a lot of I've just seen just across different families, sports is what keeps some of the men from going wayward and anything like that.
yeah, that could work too.
And
Go ahead, Rose.
yeah, and I can kind of relate to that, Mimi, because as you said, not necessarily just sports, but when boys see something that most of them want to be like daddy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're right. Whatever, okay, my daddy did this, my daddy did that. So they're gonna try to kind of follow the footsteps. That's why it's so good. And as Salute was saying earlier, they're watching. They watch how dad treats mom, open the
That's
door,
right.
whatever there
That's
is, or how he
for
talks to
real.
mom, and the
Mm-hmm.
way he is with mom, and the way he is with him. They pretty much gonna follow that footstep.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
whatever
Yeah.
they see dad do, because I know, my boys are 38 and 33, 38. Pretty much boys want to be like daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So whatever daddy does, they're going to try and do it too.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're right, setting a good example of what you do, and they're watching. So I totally agree to that. And
Mm-hmm.
I agree to Lou saying that they're watching,
Yeah,
even if you're not telling them,
that's right.
verbally what to do all day long.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing what you're doing and they're watching what
Yeah.
you're doing. Because kids watch things that you would never
You
imagine.
would
You
never
think
think
that
you
they're not paying you
right.
any attention.
They
They're
got you.
watching and they're listening.
They nailed you. You know,
Yeah.
I was Mimi, look,
Yes.
I know sports is a big thing. Look,
Yeah.
and I appreciate your statement. Yeah. And it works. Okay.
Yeah.
It goes way back. It's part of our culture. But we got away from it. We got away from baseball and neighborhood games. When Dr. Omar and I was coming up in our neighborhoods in the backyard, we would have playing football in the backyard, playing basketball in the backyard, baseball.
Right.
We run, relay, and all of these stuff. But the bigger, older boys would be the one that organizes for us, for the little boys,
Yeah.
and we just have games, probably sometime the whole weekend. You know,
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
attention
it's a
grabbing. It's
big
focus.
thing.
It's
But we know
it's
that's
something
not
to do.
happening right now. That
Mm,
doesn't happen.
yeah.
Older boys don't teach the younger boys much anymore.
Right.
The older boys, when I was coming up, taught us how to box. Had brought boxing gloves. We'd be in the backyard, it, encircled probably about 10 or 15 other youth, and everybody trying to get their chance to put boxing gloves on. And the little boys, me, and some of the others, we'd be the one doing the boxing. The older boys be the coaching and the referees and all that, right? So we did that. But it's one thing I couldn't do. I could never figure out how to throw a baseball. I could never understand why my ball never fell in the basket in basketball. So I was deterred. I didn't play baseball. I wouldn't play basketball because I didn't think I was good enough. Okay. But somebody one day told me, man, you moved in on them. You got your shot off. So you must be sort of good. So I don't know. But I couldn't.
You know, yeah. You know, again, something I would like to add to that also to Lou and Mimi. As mothers, and as Toulouse was saying earlier, we can't teach our boys how to be men. But one thing we also, as the mothers, have to remember that we need to do. Some of us don't know this, and some of us do know it, but you know, we get very sentimental when it comes down to our children. One thing we as mothers have to do, and we really have to learn to do this, when our boys' dads are teaching them to be men, even if we think that they're being a little too tough, we have to learn to keep silent.
Leave them alone. That's right.
We gotta leave it alone because I was at some point, you know, my boys were. I thought that they were being. I thought that the dad was being too tough because they were too little. Yeah. And I'm like, well, they're too little for you to do this and do that. You know, we have to learn to be quiet because when our boys sense that, sometimes they'll shut down.
Yeah, it's going to soften. Yeah, it's soften. I'm going to tell you something about boys.
And we have to just learn, be quiet. It doesn't matter because they're not going to hurt their children.
No, they're not going to kill them.
Okay.
They might hurt them, but they're going to kill them.
Yeah, we have to be quiet.
Not gonna kill them,
right? And because let me tell you something. And even these boys will look back, even if they fall or dad doing something. The number one thing they're gonna do, look back at mama to see if mama is looking.
Sure is.
When mama is looking,
absolutely.
Oh my God, you can't do anything with them.
That's right.
I had to get to the point where I turned my head like I didn't see it because if they saw mommy looking. When daddy is roughing them up, they think mommy is going to make everything okay. We have to learn to just be silent and act like we don't see it.
But you know, my dad, and I love to talk about my domestic family, my mother and father. My mother never, ever interfered with my daddy in disciplining us. In fact, she was the one who passed the rule. She was the one who had the gavel. And she hit the gavel. I'm going to tell your daddy, that's it. She was done. Whatever daddy did was shit, what daddies do. But the thing is, I never heard them disagree with one another. You can't, it's hard to believe, right? I never heard my mother and father disagree. Never. And I never heard my mother, when my daddy disciplined us, she never came back and said anything. Because if we came and said something to her, you know what she was going to do? I'm going to tell your daddy. You didn't like the way he whipped you. And guess what you're going to get?
Yeah, I have another to catch myself.
Okay.
Like I don't, it be times I want to say something when my husband disciplined my 4-year-old, but I don't say anything.
See, boys are like this. Nothing. Boys have adrenaline. And this is what mothers have to understand. Mothers do not have the strength to hurt a boy.
Be quiet.
When a mother take a switch, scrap, and she's spanking the boy, and the boy just yelling, "Oh mama, oh mama, oh mama," it's just a front. Okay, you're not doing anything. He just fronting off on you. Okay, now when daddy whipped that boy, that boy gonna feel it. Okay,
I got did like that yesterday.
Right. Okay, so it's a big difference. Boys have adrenaline. Daddies know they're not hurting that boy because he was a boy himself, right? He know if he push him around, if the boy fall down, a dad gonna say, "Boy, get up." A mom, if he fall down and bust his head, the daddy gonna say the same thing. "Boy, get up." He used to get up, boy, go and let your mama put something on your busted head or something, right? But a mother is going to panic. He scratched his
I said,
knee.
get up,
He
shake it
hurt his
off.
ankle. He
Shake it
did
off.
this. No, leave him alone. Let that dad make that boy a boy, number one. Make him a boy. Because we got a problem
Then
these
tell you to be
days.
quiet.
Okay? Because we have a problem. And the problem with us is our boys are not even made boys yet. Okay?
Well, they lack punishment. They lack punishment. They lack
Yeah.
discipline,
Yes.
and they lack structure, and all of that goes back to the loss of fathers in the
That's right.
home.
That's right.
Because part of what you do when you are chastising your son is just like when you see a lion and a cub,
Yeah.
you know, and that lion is chastising that cub.
Yeah.
He's teaching that cub actually how to defend itself in the future.
A whole lot of other stuff involved in that.
And that's why we got so many boys who don't know how to fight, and the first thing they do is pick up guns because they honestly have never been taught how to defend themselves. And they have an inherent fear of violence when it comes to physical confrontations with other men, fist fighting. So they automatically go to the gun. It's the easiest way to go because they've never been taught that.
That's true, cuz. That's true. And the men, see, you take it for an example. All right. I can point to my own self. I've had 24 fights. I added them up one day because I thought it was cool. I said, let me see. I used to fight all the time, you know. I said, let me add up
You
the
added
names
every fight
behind
you
everybody
had.
I had to fight. Huh?
That's good.
Yeah, I did.
Now,
I
who
actually did.
can really do that? Is there anybody out there that actually can count the fights that they've had?
Probably
if it's
could.
over 3,
most
can
of them,
anybody count over 3 fights? Can you go on and count exactly how many?
I had 24 fights. I got a list. I got my list right here somewhere. I keep it in front of me because fights build character. I'm gonna tell you. See, fights let you know when you're going too far. It lets you know where to break off at. It's not that you're afraid to fight, but why use all that energy? So you just break off. Say, look, so you know your character, and you're looking at the character of the male. This is why sometimes you can see two men can be raised in hell. And they never throw a blow. Sometimes you can see a man say one thing and they stay in a fist fight. Okay? So you have to learn these disciplines. You have to understand when you are threatened and when you are not. Words do not threaten a man. Actions threaten a man. You got to see something in this man that let you know he's aggressive and he will attack. That's why the law says this: stand your ground. That's why you are not in Tennessee, for a fact. You do not have to retreat, meaning you do not have to take a single step backwards. If a man is aggressive and you realize this man is aggressive and this man have caused you to think in terms of your safety, shoot and kill him. That's what the state says. That's what the law is. Because nobody has a right to make you feel like you are in danger. Human beings supposed to talk to each other civil and respectful. If somebody is doing that, you don't have to step back. You can shoot and kill him because he done got you in a position where you fear for your life. Okay? Nobody has a right to place another human being in a position where they fear for their lives. That's with the police, that's with the soldiers, that's with anybody else. If you're in a position where you fear for your life, shoot and kill them and then defend yourself in court or something, you know? But you are not supposed to let anybody harm you, hurt you, or kill you. That's what fighting does. Fighting, in my Holy Quran, in the book, it said, fighting is prescribed for you, though you may dislike it. Because fighting does a lot for a man or a boy. You don't want to go. Now, it's one thing, Rose, I never started a fight with anybody. I was always on the defense. I was always defending myself. I never, ever started a fight. But I lived in the type of neighborhood where somebody was going to always challenge you. Always. So you always had, in my family, 11 siblings, 10 siblings, much younger than me, little sisters. I had no choice but to fight, because I had to fight to let everybody know I will fight. Don't mess with my sisters and don't mess with my younger brothers, because I will fight.
Let me find out you was out here being a bully. You can remember.
Say it again, Mimi. I didn't hear all of that. I know it was something that you was calling me a bully. Go ahead.
I said, let me find out you was out here being a bully when you was in school.
No, I never was. I was really mild-mannered. You know what? I was really recluse. And I had to fight a gang member once in the middle of it, like right in TV, like you see in TV, standing in the middle of the gang, fighting the gang member. A gang leader. I had to fight a gang leader once. I thought that this, in my mind, I said, well, this is the day I'm gonna die. Because the gang standing around and people I thought were my friends were standing around in the circle. And I'm thinking, what are they doing here? To my friends, what are they doing here? And I had to fight that guy and almost took his head off and broke the gang up. Gang ceased to exist afterward. But the thing is, we have to understand fighting is not necessarily negative, and women can't get that in their mind. Now, all that street fighting and all that old stuff we see in social media, people grabbing women by the hair and pulling, we ain't talking about that kind of stuff. That's savagery. We're talking about self-defense. You have to defend yourself. You have to defend yourself the best way you can. If with your hands, with your weapons, self-defense. Never aggression. Never get into starting something with somebody. Never do that. Because most likely you're going to win because you got the wrong energy. Pardon me. Most likely you're going to lose because you have the wrong energy. If you're defending yourself, you have the right energy. And God Almighty is with you. But if you're attacking somebody, you have the wrong energy and God Almighty is not with you. Watch what happened to these Caucasians who've been attacking us and killing us and fighting us for all these thousands of years. Watch what's going to happen to them. We don't have to fight them. We don't have to do nothing. But they are becoming more and more embarrassed by what they have done. One day they're going to hold their head down in front of us. One day they're going to plead and say, I'm sorry, which did happen. I was at the grand opening of the Lynching Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. First opened. I was there, and there was a lot of Caucasians there looking at all of the monuments and the names of those people who had been lynched, 30,000 or something like that. And before I left that place, a Caucasian came to me and said, just right out the sky blue, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Well, my mind was telling me, you're a liar. You did know. But the person was probably sincere. And because I was angry, because I had gone through the museum, I'd seen all these names of people who were lynched. So I'm sort of like angry. They killed all these people, lynched them, and I'm coming out of the museum and the Caucasian come to me and say, I didn't know. So my anger against his hurt, I didn't have the emotions to express anything other than you're a liar. I just listened. I didn't call him a liar. It was in my mind. You just lying. You did know. But one day, that's going to be across the board. It's not going to be just at a slave museum. Hey, y'all, I'm so happy y'all allowed me to talk 2 hours and 18 minutes. I don't know what to do. I've not gotten a chance to eat dinner. I haven't drank any water and a whole lot of other stuff. But I sure appreciate you all for taking the time to join us in this talk show. And the title of our talk show was and is Memphis, Trouble from the Beginning. Just to show you and let everybody know that Memphis has a history of violence. From day one, it was violent. It ain't gonna ever be anything but violent. Somebody said something? So I went through that, and I kind of shared some historical significant items and things about the history of Memphis to clearly point to, it's just a dangerous place, and it always has. But you can always make it in Memphis by minding your own business. Okay? That's the first thing in Memphis. You always just mind your business. You safe. Okay? And you kind and you nice. You safe. But if you violate somebody, it's been this way from day one, from when I was a little boy. If you violate somebody, you're gonna have to deal with it on their term. And they may have weapons and you may not. So we have to understand that Memphis is not the place that most people would like for it to be. It's not the city of music only. Rhythm, the blues, city of the blues and the pyramid and this and that and this. Memphis has always been a dangerous place. Okay. I mean, I remember as a little boy in Fowler homes, I would remember body laying on the ground, wife and stabbed the husband in the chest. I remember some of my friends that I'd run around with all the time, got in an altercation with a boy from Texas, shot and killed him on 4th Street. So a lot of my friends were killers, murderers. I remember the knifings. I remember the gang fights. I remember all of that. Memphis, and not just in my neighborhood, it was all across the city. Same thing. Violence among the teenagers, extremely violent, and adults.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of friends of mine were killed shooting dice and shot in the head in the dice game. Friends I used to walk the neighborhood with, dead because of that. When I was a teenager, 14, 15. So I just want to share with that people are around the country are seeing our city as a dangerous place. It always has been. It's going to always be. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. And next week, same time, Mo Talk, we're going to be here again. We'll have another subject matter. And I'll send out the link to everybody so you can join. Go ahead, Rose.
No, I just wanted you to know that for those out there listening that are not aware of the time that we usually start, it's usually at 6 to 7.
Apologies for being late.
Oh, that's okay.
No, it's okay.
No, you all took us from 7 to 8:22. You late ones.
Yeah.
That's our courtesy.
And
because
a lot
we
of
love
them
y'all.
don't know.
That's
Right.
because we love you. And we just went on. We didn't talk 2.5 hours now. But that's not
And it's
bad.
so
Dr.
important to
Omar
hear
and I,
everybody's
Dr. Omar,
comments.
let them know we should talk 1.5 hours, 2 hours. One time we had a show for 2.5 hours. We should talk 1.5 hours every Sunday. So this is not that bad. We do it okay.
So we apologize because there are times that we are going to go on 1 and 2 hours over because the conversation and the talk is good. So we enjoy hearing what everybody has to say.
It's an excellent documentary. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week on Mo Talk.
Mo Talk.
Hey, that's not more. That's not more talk. That's Mo Talk. Mo Talk, because we in the South, baby.